Hey everybody, Tyler Stofel here, Stofel and Associates Realty. Of course, welcome back to yet another Thinkin Thursdays. And what I want to talk to you guys about today, we're going to keep it short. But the biggest thing is that a lot of people ask me, well, what is a seller's market? So a seller's market doesn't mean that there's a property for sale on the corner out there or there's a property down the street for sale. A seller's market generally tends to speak on the amount of inventory within a specific area. So when it's a seller's market, of course, it goes into the very basic principle of supply and demand. So when there's more supply and less demand, it becomes more of a buyer's market. When there's more demand than there is supply, then of course that's what makes a seller's market. So right now in 2020 and 2021, now that we're in early stages of 2021, we are still experiencing a very heavy seller's market, meaning that there's a lot more demand than supply. There are many external factors that contribute to whether it be a seller's market or a buyer's market. But of course, generally speaking for us, because we live in such a touristy area, there's a lot of people that are moving from out of states, whether it be for different tax codes, different reasons, whether that they're done with the snow, or just moving from one neighborhood to another. So there's many factors that play into what makes a seller's market a seller's market. But if you keep in tune with the seller's market, when the seller's market is strong, the stock market tends to be strong, and the economy tends to be strong, and they all kind of correlate with each other. So a strong seller's market is actually a good thing for the economy, it's a good thing for the U.S., and it's also a good thing for you. So even though you may think that you're paying a peak or you're paying a premium, because that demand will continue to rise or expected to rise, if you purchase your property today, chances are tomorrow, it's not going to change overnight into a buyer's market. So, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, each day that it continues to be a seller's market and it continues to stay strong, you are continuing to build equity because the property values continue to go up. So right now, last year when COVID hit, everybody expected property values to tank. It brings me so much joy to sit here, and I couldn't tell you how many people we had come in as leads to want to work with us, and they say, well, I'm going to wait in the second quarter of 2020, or I'm going to wait in the third quarter, I'm going to wait till the fourth quarter, and I'm going to buy when COVID really hits and when property values tank. And if those people would have bought back in February, opposed to what February is going to look like for 2021, they probably would have had about an 8 to 12%, I'd say probably 8 to 15%, because specific areas, of course, vary. But they would have probably had an 8 to 15% increase in property value alone. So to make numbers easy, we're going to go with that 15%. So say that you bought a house from us in February 2020 versus February 2021. Easy numbers, $200,000 house, 15% equity increase year to year. You're looking at that house you bought $200,000 is now worth $230,000. You made $30,000 in the course of a year. I don't know about you, but I don't know that your savings account, yields that same amount of interest or, whatever it may be. But, again, kind of like my other Thinkin Thursday that we recently posted or will be posting depending on, where it falls. But I basically said that, your house is like a giant piggy bank. Of course, you got to keep the piggy bank shined up. You got to keep it clean. You got to keep feeding it. But ultimately, that piggy bank is going to continue to grow and grow and grow and grow. And one thing about real estate is it's illiquid. So we talk about liquidity. Liquid things are like stocks, where I can sell a stock in the matter of minutes. Real estate is a little bit more of a solid long-term investment. And so even if the 15% does not stay, the average homeowner tends to stay in their house about 6 years. So we look into the dark side of that, and we know that 2008 there was a housing bubble. So if you would have owned your house from 2008 and you owned it for the traditional time, 6 years, you'd be looking at 2014. And 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013 were all pretty rough following the bubble. But 2014 came back very strong. 2020 last year, we actually surpassed 2008 prices. 2021 is expected to do the same. So one of the good things is the people that held out for the 2008 and kept their home and has now since either refinanced into much lower rates and since they bought down their payments, or now they're actually in the process of selling, you still have nice healthy margins at this point to be able to get out from underneath your property. So point of it being is that it is always worth it to buy a house, whether it be a seller's market or a buyer's market or even a neutral market, which occasionally does happen. But just speaking and just off the top of my head, I'm going to reach out to Raymond real quick. Raymond, how many months of inventory do we have on hand right now?
1.3.
1.3 months. 1.3 months of inventory on hand. Generally speaking, Raymond, what do we consider a neutral market?
About 3 months, I believe.
So about 3 months is considered a neutral market, where it's not really a buyer's market or a seller's market. So right now, with literally almost 1 month of inventory on hand, that is insane. The demand is so high, the supply is low. So if you're a seller, it's a good opportunity. But on the hindsight, same thing. Buyer, you're still looking at a very good opportunity. Not to mention, one of the biggest factors that plays an account is that the interest rates are still super low. And because the interest rates are still super low, granted you didn't buy that house in 2020 that was $200,000 that has now gone up 15%, is now worth $230,000. But here's the deal. The interest rates are actually lower now than they were in February 2020. So you might have only been able to afford that $200,000 house in February 2020 because you were paying a 5% interest rate depending on your loan. But now you're paying a 3%, you're paying a 3.5% interest rate. So it's actually giving you what you'd been able to afford because your debt to income would have been only a $200,000 house. Now you might be able to buy a $220,000, $225,000 house because with the interest rate being lower, the monthly mortgage payment actually stays about the same. So guys, we might be salespeople, you might think of us as salespeople, but we're truly trusted advisors. I consider myself more of a consult than a real estate salesperson or a used car salesperson. And I gotta say that only about probably 2% of the people that have bought a house in the last year have had buyer's remorse. And that's not just with our company, that is nationwide. So if you're on the fence, you got questions, you feel uncomfortable, listen, I'm not gonna sell you some property down the street and then never hear from me again. I'm here as your trusted professional. Our company is here as trusted professionals. All of our agents are here as trusted professionals to make sure that the property you're purchasing today follows along for years to come, and you feel very confident, you feel good in your decision, and then that way, 5 years from now, you're so happy with us that whenever you decide to sell, you're going to give us a call. So make the plunge, do it, it's worth it, it makes total sense, and make it happen. Cheers to 2021.